Hey everyone, this is Paul Gale from paulgalenetwork.com, and thank you for joining me today for video game news. It is January 15th, 2021, and these are the top stories of the day. To kick things off, we've got something cool to look at over on Twitter, courtesy of Matt Piscatella, representing the NPD group. We've got our December 2020 and full year 2020 stats to look at in terms of hardware sales and software sales and some interesting things. So let's take a look. First up, I will tell you that December 2020 had some big numbers. We actually reached a record total of $56.9 billion in consumer spending throughout the year, which is 27% higher than 2019. That's already tremendous, in which 7.7 billion alone was spent in the month of December. That goes across game hardware, content, accessories, etc. So it's really good to see. If you want a full breakdown of everything Matt had to show off, you could go over to his Twitter page, which is at Matt Piscatella. Just mind-blowing. I'll read a couple of the most interesting parts though. Nintendo Switch was the best-selling hardware platform in terms of units and dollars spent for both December and the entire year. So what that means is, you have more expensive hardware, such as the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. So Nintendo Switch could potentially sell more of them, but if the other systems sold close, they would have more total dollars spent, right? But in this case, Nintendo Switch sold so much that it not only outsold them, but enough that it made more money in the end. Now, of course, PS5 and Xbox Series X are harder to come by, so they're more scarce. They had stock issues, scalpers, etc. But still, gotta hand it to Nintendo for almost 4-year-old hardware to really dominate the holidays. The other interesting thing about this is the annual dollar sales of the Nintendo Switch hardware were the second highest for a platform in United States history. Only the 2008 dollar sales of the Wii were higher. Very impressive. Let's see. Some interesting things also. Animal Crossing New Horizons, I'm sticking on Nintendo before I deviate, was 2020's third best-selling game. It had the sixth best-selling spot of December 2020. And it achieved the highest physical dollar sales for a Nintendo published game in a calendar year since Wii Fit Plus in 2010. So before you even count this game's digital sales, which obviously make up a very big percentage, especially in this modern era, people self-quarantining and whatnot, the nature of Animal Crossing being a title that you kind of always want to have on your system, it sold quite well digitally. But it is now the highest grossing game that Nintendo has had, stuttered for a second, in a year since 2010. So when you add in digital, it's just gonna blow Wii Fit Plus out of the water. So major props to Nintendo. Now moving on. In PlayStation news, the PS5 finished 2020 as the second best-selling console in dollar sales. Dollar sales. And the PS4 ranked the second most units sold. And that's kind of the example that I was giving earlier. You could have a system not be as high in terms of numbers, but be higher in dollar amount. PS5 sold enough that it was the second most in dollar amount. PS4 was the second most in units sold. PlayStation 5 did well enough, despite limitations and whatnot, and trying to have a worldwide launch during a pandemic like this. Despite all that, PS5 did set a new dollar sales record for PlayStation hardware through each of PlayStation's first December. So that's really promising because here Sony has been around for 25 years on the market. In the United States, multiple Decembers, this was the best ever for them. So that's pretty big for PlayStation, so props there. In terms of the overall best-selling game of the year, that went to Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, best-selling game of 2020 and December 2020, and Call of Duty Modern Warfare was 2020's second best-selling game. Call of Duty overall, it ranks as the best-selling gaming franchise in the US market for a record 12th consecutive year. That is insane. For the last 12 years, think of all of the great games that have come out. All of the big titles, the exclusive stuff on Nintendo, the massive PlayStation hits like Spider-Man, you're looking at anything that has come on the way of Xbox, third-party titles, Grand Theft Auto, correct, big one. Call of Duty, however, best-selling gaming franchise for 12 consecutive years in the US. And no wonder why Activision pumps them out, because the first-person genre is very strong, and the Call of Duty brand, despite various titles in the Call of Duty ecosystem being of different quality, they're all well put together games that provide a lot, provide single player experiences for the most part solid, and multiplayer experiences that last a long time, that are available on all platforms. Makes sense that they sell so well, but to be number one for 12 consecutive years is just pretty crazy. Cyberpunk 2077 debuted as the number 2 best-selling game of December, 19th overall best-selling game of 2020. That doesn't include digital tracking, by the way. The Last of Us Part 2 finished 2020 as the year's 6th best-selling game. It is now the 3rd best-selling Sony-published game in US history in terms of dollar sales, trailing only Marvel's Spider-Man and 2018's God of War. That's pretty awesome too. Here, Sony, in their 7th year of the PS4 being out, managed to release a game of high quality that ended up being the 3rd best-selling game, 3rd best grossing game that they've ever had. Very impressive. Now, that's some pretty strong company to be with, because God of War is phenomenal, and Spider-Man is one of my favorites of this past generation. So, you're looking at some pretty elite games representing Sony's top 3. Let's see. Do we have anything else? We have, in general, charts that take the breakdown of PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, their own respective top 20s, the December top 20, the overall yearly top 20 report. I could tell you some of those things, but I encourage you to look, if you're interested in this, at Matt Piscatella on Twitter and see the further breakdown. Real quick though, half of the 2020 best-selling games of December were published by Nintendo, considering that Nintendo only has one platform, not a Wii and a DS, a Wii U and a 3DS. They're not pumping out games on other platforms, just on the Nintendo Switch. To occupy 10 of those 20 is really successful. Says a lot to the quality of their games and the strong attach rate of Nintendo Switch owners to how many games they purchase. And yeah, that's mostly covering the news. If you want to see more, if you want to see the exact breakdown, then I encourage you to check out his Twitter page. I think that's going to do it for video game sales talk, though. Moving on to something that might interest you more. Mortal Kombat, first movie pictures. We've got some looks. We see Liu Kang in different shots. I'm going through these. These are provided by Entertainment Online. Got Jax, Sonya Blade, Sub-Zero, Kano. Pretty cool. I don't know if I went by it too quickly for you. I'll go by it one more time. If you want to look at more photos and learn more details, you could go to entertainment.com. This movie does come out April 16th, which is pretty exciting. That's just a couple of months away. And in semi-related news, not necessarily video game related, but still under this HBO Max umbrella, Godzilla vs. Kong got bumped up from May 21st to March 26th, and I'm personally happy about that. It, along with Mortal Kombat, will be coming out HBO Max. So we have March, Godzilla vs. Kong, which was previously May, and then the next month, something else to look forward to in Mortal Kombat. Godzilla vs. Kong was originally supposed to be a a March of 2020 title that got postponed to November 2020, that got postponed to May 2021. So at this point, going back 2 months means at the end of the day, it got a 1-year delay. So not entirely horrible. I'm just glad that it's coming out. Next up, we have a trailer to look at. And this is Persona related.
Ready for an ass kicking? This is our chance. Wipe them out.
For some people, the character Joker, they know him solely from Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
The jail looks like Shibuya.
Of course, Persona is a well-established franchise, but you don't have a strong Persona presence necessarily on Nintendo Switch. But I think that's about to change because this looks solid, very clean graphics. It's got a nice quality to it, got some good shine. If there are enough characters to play as, good story, seemingly good voice acting, game functions well, they advertise it well, have some crossover stuff between Persona 5 Strikers, which comes out February 23rd, and letting people know that, hey, this is Joker from Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Play his Joker now in this game, so forth, back and forth. Then I think it might help the series reach a bigger audience on Nintendo consoles. And finally, in today's video game news, we've got Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, yet again, hot topic this week. But this time, it's something of a promotion from GameStop that if you pre-order from them, you'll get 2 exclusive posters. This one over here, and this one. Now this one in particular, that's my favorite. I've said so many times now in the last several days that I just love this artwork. Oh, I mentioned before, but here I could show you today. There we go. I said before on Video Game News with Paul Gale Network that I was like, I just love that art so much. I printed it out, cut it, and stuck it on the back of my iPhone case. So, you know, I'm definitely up for this. I don't know yet whom I will pre-order from. Could be GameStop, could be Best Buy. I would like that Steelbook, and if someone's going to have a Steelbook, I have to imagine that it's Best Buy, unless if it's purely a UK thing. If no one's having a Steelbook, and everyone else has just got a normal version, might as well go with the GameStop one, because 2 posters is pretty sweet, especially this one. Alright, that's going to do today for Video Game News with Paul Gale Network. Let me know what you thought of today's stories. Are you going to pre-order Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury? Where from? Are you looking forward to the Mortal Kombat film, to Godzilla vs. Kong? Even though not quite gaming related, still fun and video game adjacent due to it being under that HBO umbrella and, you know, being tied with Mortal Kombat. You're looking forward to it. What did you think of today's NPD news? Anything that you're surprised about? And are you looking forward to the new Persona game? All right. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. See you next time, everybody. Bye.